what role do we play in this economy? The first thing is we have to figure out, are we solving a problem? That's a very important element, and we should be highly focused on what sort of problem we're solving. Whether is it a logistical problem, are we providing food, are we processing, and so on. Then solving a problem involves creation of value. People exchange their hard-earned money for value. That's what makes people money. And these are very simple concepts. When you think about it, this is ultimately what makes companies successful. The third is develop competence by being highly specified, highly how do I say, specialized, sorry, I've developed competence in investment, in finance. So you could wake me up at 3 a.m. in the morning, fresh out of sleep, and I could describe the entire investment process to you, like I'm reading off a script, because this is all I do. This is how I develop my ability and how I create value within my sector. Then the last and most important point is we scale. A company, for you to attract capital, because I know that the basis of this webinar we're having is about attracting capital. These are the things that an investor wants to see. Are you scalable? Scalable means, how elastic is your business? How much can it expand? How much can it grow? When I put money in your business, to what extent is it going to grow? And I'll show you the forces, the 7 forces, which I always like to number things in sevens, but these are the forces that will enable a person to access capital and to define themselves truly as a strong entrepreneur. So these forces for scaling up are: 1, a focused business model. Now, what do I mean? If you ask somebody, what does Mark Zuckerberg do? What does any insanely huge entrepreneur, you ask what do, they always tell you it's one thing. And from an entrepreneurial standpoint, obviously people invest in other things, but they're not running those businesses. It's about what you essentially do and run. So in my case, I'm a venture capitalist. Fine, you hear stories, oh yeah, sit on the board of Airtel and Zambia Breweries and so on. That's being a director. That's not my business. It's more like it's a directorship, right? You kind of oversee. You're a board member. But from week by week, from 7 till the time my day's over, this is what I'm doing. Focusing on my business model. So you have to be focused. The second is execution. People have so many ideas, but there's always a fear of execution. You have to, have developed this spirit, this mindset of picking up the phone, being highly aggressive, pushing sales, building partnerships, sitting down, ideating, just everything that it's the action process of turning a business plan into an actual business. That's the execution, in making sure that your product or services come into the market in the best way possible. The third is management and governance. It's about you knowing how to run a business and having people to oversee your operations. So from a management standpoint, even though I'm a shareholder in Kukula Capital, I also have a board. Now, the board is supposed to somewhat be my sanity check, which we don't want to be making stupid decisions. We want people, older people, or people with different, like, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not there's certain things I don't know based on my own training, but so we have a lawyer on our board. We've got people who are in management consulting on our board. We've got people with 25, 30 years experience in venture capital on our board from different countries. And these people are there to say, no, Jito, that decision you made, that's not the right one, because we did this in Namibia and it didn't work. So that's why you need governance, right? This is just, having a structure where there's accountability and so on. The fourth is financial discipline. When we make money, this is why it's important to have financial statements. Every month you've got your financial report. I mean, we're talking the likes of a income statement. Of course, you've got your balance sheet, you track that. But you're also making sure that when the company makes money, you're not eating what comes off the company, right? You're making sure that what's produced, you're thinking, should we reinvest? How much do we pay ourselves as dividends? Should we buy ourselves luxury vehicles? Or should we support the business's growth? That's the discipline I'm talking about. So that even in times when you're making money, you're disciplined, so that when times like this come, economic recessions, COVID-19 come through, then you've got enough resources to sustain your business through the downtime, so that when the uptime comes, you're back on track. The fifth is capital. You've alluded to this before, is that every business needs money to grow, either debt or equity. So that's that one literally speaks for itself. It's an important force for scaling up. The last is being systematic. So systems are where you've got a process. You're very process oriented, that you're not doing random things every day. that if I'm going to be making bricks from the moment we start the factory, people know where they need to be. There's a systematic process in which we produce what we produce. Then the last but not least is being agile. As much as you're systematic, things change, technology changes. What happened to Nokia? My first phone was a Nokia. Nokia was the greatest phone company ever. Where is it today? I've never seen a Nokia again. It's iPhone, it's Samsung, it's Huawei. They didn't evolve with the time. Same thing with the camera business, right? You've got companies like Kodak and so on who were making the film-based cameras. They didn't know that actually what was going to take over the commercial camera space was actually phones, right? So the camera, the megapixels on a phone is more than what a Kodak camera had in like 95 or whatever. So things change. So you have to be agile, you have to evolve. And these are the things that I would say one has to be able to articulate and to illustrate to a potential investor that you're knowledgeable in what you're doing, you're highly accountable. And if you are able to demonstrate these, you raise money, whether it be from a bank or from a venture capitalist myself, from an angel investor. And one thing I'll tell you is that it's better that particularly the smaller you are, and I think just to go back, and we've been going back, but I needed to create you, is when you are dealing with a small business. So let's say somebody out in Chipata has a peanut seeds trading company. They don't need $1 million. They just need $50,000. There are individuals in this country who've got that kind of money. It's just individuals who can partner with that person. In fact, there's two ways a person who's in a small business can raise money. First is approaching wealthy people. I used to do that. Making calls, to people accumulating, and it doesn't even have to be one. It can be even 10 friends, family, and fools, as they say. It's a joke in the venture capital space, but it's where you essentially are seeking money from people who may not necessarily have too much pressure on you if things don't work out. So you start with the people who, if ever you were in distress where you can't pay your rent, those people you go to first. Because if somebody is in a position to support you in a difficult situation, they should be able to support you when you're trying to grow. So that's first. And then secondly, you branch out your network and have that level of courage. The second is through your customers. A good business model will attract prepayments. So I was talking to a friend recently who's got a product and needs to raise money to make more of it. I said, if your product is good, you take that sample to Melissa or to ShopRite or wherever and tell them, give them the sample. If they like it, tell them, I can sell you 20,000 of these, even if you don't have 20,000. But guess what? The only way you'll be able to provide that is if they prepay for it, at least even if it's 50% upfront. So that you're able to go back to your supplier or your manufacturer and you'll be able to fulfill the order. That's something not many people do here, and it's something more people should start doing. And it's an